Hey, good evening. I'd like to call the Select Board meeting of April 16th to order. Do we need non-public tonight, Jim?
Mr. Chairman, we do, under RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2, lowercase a, employment, and lowercase l, 2 items, consideration of legal advice.
Okay. Consideration of minutes of March 16th, 2025. That was our work session. Anybody have any additions or corrections?
Yes, I have one. I have on page 6, the fourth reference to Deshays, change 58,000 to 68,000. I was corrected by either Jim or a board member.
Okay, are there any others?
Yes, I have a couple. On number 2, it says work session default budget. At the end of that line, I would like to add Mr. Pinio's presentation is attached to be reviewed with these minutes. One of the things that I found going through the minutes is that they are not consistent, and some of the shifting is where some of the stuff is shifted over, and it's easier if, like on page 2 and 3, under like fire department, health officer and welfare is not under the fire department. So and the presentation is in the back, you really need the presentation as you go through reading the minutes. So.
I'm not sure I follow you. So on first thing, you just want to put a notation at the end of item 2.
Yes.
Presentation attached.
To be viewed with these minutes. Because if you go on to page 3, not all the departments are put out on the edge. And so I found when I was reading it, I kept on going back to the presentation. And so I thought if we just added that line. The other thing is on the bottom of page 2, the last item under technology, 71,000 should be changed to 71,060.
016.
71060. And then on page 8, and I think this is because of Mr. Pinio's response, I was asking non-union wage adjustment, is that for 2024? Because I don't think I couldn't find where the adjustment is for 2024. And then his responses, they are still behind. Believe most department heads can manage union wages within what they have. So I think I was talking about the 24 because the 25 we transferred for. And those are the only ones I have.
Any others? Get a motion to approve it with the adjustments?
Move to approve is accepted. March
Second.
26. Thanks.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next is April 2nd, 2025.
I have a number. First one is on page 10. And it is the third time I speak. It is the second sentence, and it doesn't make any sense. It should say we need to go back to make the changes, and then just cross out, go through. Just make the changes. Just don't need that wording. Okay, on page 11, it is the second time I'm speaking, it's up from the bottom. I would like the first sentence to say, not confident of New Hampshire DES oversight. I think that was
Page 11?
page 11. Second time I speak, up from the bottom. It says no confidence. And I would like it to say that no confidence in DES oversight.
That's the fourth time you speak.
From the bottom?
Oh, second from the bottom, okay.
Okay.
I always go from the top.
No, well, depends upon where you get it the quickest. Page 12, it's the second time that Mr. Randall is speaking. No, it's the third time Mr. Randall is speaking. And there are two bullets underneath that, and at the end of the very last bullet, I'd like to add to areas disturbed by construction. And that's all I have.
Now, is that something that he spoke or something that we're just adding for
I'm adding
clarification?
that because you and I were unclear of exactly what he was saying, and I think it's clear that the whole road is not going to be paved, and I think by adding that sentence, it'll
Okay.
make it clearer.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Need a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the April 2nd, 2024 minutes as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there's, pointed out there's one thing missing here on our agenda. The next one should be public input. Is there anybody here from the public who'd like to talk to us now? Okay, next on the agenda is public hearings. Wolfeboro Select Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 16th, 2025 at 6:30 PM, Great Hall, 84 South Main Street, Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, for acceptance of unanticipated funds for an amount donated that is less than $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95B3A relative to donation from the Friends of Pop Whalen, the amount of $2,685.81 for the project to rebuild the Pop Whalen Ice and Arts Center. Demolition grant offset. Is anybody here to speak to that, Jim? Is that for,
This is a grant that was applied for by the Friends of Pop Whalen under the authorization of the Board of Selectmen. As a result, they were awarded the grant. The initial anticipated amount that we were to receive was higher than what we actually received. Once we received the check, we determined that the difference between the two was the $2,685.81. As a result, the Friends of Pop Whalen have issued that check in that amount to the town as that final piece associated with the grant and the project.
thank you. Somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to...
Wait. That was a public hearing, you closed the public hearing, and then I have a comment.
Okay,
Okay.
close it. Yep.
I want to point out that this has been a very successful public-private partnerships where citizens and businesses of the area have shown how important the Pop Whalen Ice Arena is by donating $2.7 million, or 38% of the project. This is the largest private donation the town has received for a capital project.
So, Jim, I have one question. How hard would it be to get, for the board, if the board wants it, or me personally, a list of all the different donation monies as they came in from the POP and anything that they were specifically associated with? A donation that was to go to this, a donation was to this, or did they just go to the whole project? Just so I can see a running tab of it. Is that difficult?
So my first question for you is specific to the capital project?
Yes. Capital, well, we know that the donations came in over a long period of time. I would just like to see
We can put that together for
a
you.
running record of when everything came in
Yep.
and how the pieces went together.
We have that, we can put that together for you. Probably should be able to get it to you by the end of the week without a whole lot of hesitation. The only reason I was asking for that clarity is because we have received other donations from that group, and then there was also an original allocation of, I believe, $100,000 for the initial engineering that took place before the capital project. So I can get that to you.
Yeah, there's just a lot of working parts of that 2.7, and it would be nice to see it all.
Yeah, and I guess I want to make it clear to the public that on the date they needed to pay up, they paid $2 million.
Yep.
And then asked for permission to pay the next $700,000 over the next year.
Yep.
And they paid it off gradually, because by the time they got to July 2024, on the 31st, they only owned $222,000 of that 700. So in terms of that 2.7, it came over, not over a long period of time, and that's what I'm responding to.
Yeah.
So does somebody want to make a motion to accept this?
Nope. I'll make a motion to accept unanticipated funds for amount donated less than $10,000 in accordance with RSA 3195-B3A relative to the donation from the Friends of Pop Whalen in the amount of $2,685.81 for the project to rebuild the Pop Whalen Ice and Arts Center, in brackets, demolition grant offset, close brackets.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I will abstain because I never vote for anything on this project.
Okay, next temporary event permit. Wolfeboro Select Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 16th, 2025 at 6:30 PM to consider a temporary event permit application for the American Legion Post 18 to host the Independence Day Parade on July 4th, 2025 at 9, rain date July 25th, along Main Street beginning from Forest Road to Academy Drive from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Permit 2025-23. Anybody want to make any remarks? This is obviously an annual permit that's been going on for years.
Just a question.
Close the public hearing.
So I will move to issue a temporary event permit for the American Legion Post 18 to hold the Independence Day Parade on July 4th, 2025. It says 9. I'm not sure what the 9 means. Rain date on July 5th, along Main Street beginning from Forest Road to Academy Drive from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Permit number 2025-23.
I'll second that.
Okay,
I have a comment or a question. Am I correct, Jim, that they will come back later, the police department, with the closure of the roads? This is just for the parade going down.
Question too.
Correct, and that's why I believe you see the time of 9 o'clock on there, because
do you
Captain
have-
Livy can speak, but I believe that's the rough time that they begin to shut down the parking and the traffic.
I think the question that was asked is, are we going to hear procedurally how that's going to work?
Yes.
Buses for the elderly, those kind, transportation, those kinds of things. Is that going to be as we get closer to
Yeah,
it?
that'll be forthcoming as the
That's what
permit
you
gets approved.
Yes.
and-
Yeah, me too.
did you get the latest update of the minutes? Because it's written on there that
I didn't see it.
in May, the board will review the road closure plans.
I didn't see it.
I didn't see
My
any.
my apologies.
Me too. I didn't.
Would you apologize to him for me?
Yeah,
No.
we both apologize.
Okay. On to the next one.
We need a second and a vote, don't
No,
we?
we
I
got,
seconded it.
Yeah.
You need to call the vote.
Call the vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I didn't hear anybody wanted to oppose it. Wolfeboro Select Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 16, 2025, at 6:30 to consider temporary event application for the Wolfeboro Area Recreation Association to hold the Wolf Triathlon on August 2nd, 2025 at the Nick, Albee Beach, along town, private, and state roads from 5:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Permit number 2025-24. I thought I saw Vince, yeah. You want to speak to this?
Hi, good evening. Vincent Vaccaro from Chi-Tech Events. This would be our fourth year holding this event at the Nick. I've been in communication with both the police department as well as fire and rescue to aid and assist us for this particular day. I have permits in the works for tents and for the water usage. And I'm happy that this event actually allows individuals from the age of 6 years all the way on up to compete in different distance triathlons. They can do that individually or they can do it as a relay team. Any questions that I can answer?
Is this all in the town of Wolfeboro, or does some of it go into Tuftonboro?
Some goes to Tuftonboro. With your permission, or once I'm hoping
Yep.
that you get permission, I give permission, then what I'll be able to do is to go to their chief of police.
Okay.
It's primarily in Wolfeboro, so I start with the biggest.
Yeah, I'm just looking, and I thought
Yes,
that...
no, we used this course last year, and they agreed with it in the past, so it's a matter of me going for permission. And if there is a problem, then I would have to come back and change the course.
Okay.
Excuse me, so how many participants do you have?
Excuse me?
How many participants do you have?
We usually wind up with someplace in the avenue of 300 across the boards.
So do you pre-warn people on polls that there's a road race coming? Like a,
The night before, the entire course is marked, road race in progress. In addition to that, there's arrow systems that are put up between the bike and the run course. Swim buoys are put out. They're lit the night before, so people know where the swim course actually is. I make a phone call the week before to the people on the private road so that they know that I'm using, that road will be used in the morning for people to get to the water, and then after they finish their swim, they run out and head to the neck.
so how many chaperones do you have like on standby?
I wind up with a volunteer crew in the 50 to 60 person range. I have an EMS vehicle that'll be here that's on property just in case. We typically will, actually with the assistance of fire and rescue, we have somebody on the water with AED that's there in the event that there's a problem. And then the other volunteers are out on the streets directing people along the course. The police department are there to direct the vehicles.
So in the past, have you had anything that would cause you to do anything different this year?
At this point in time, there is nothing different that I'm going to do. I've asked both departments for their suggestions, if they want me to do anything after. Like I said, this is going to be the fourth year. So after doing this, if they see anything that is deficient, what do I need to improve? And I've asked that, and to date, I have not been told that we need anything additional.
Okay, thank you.
So I can make a motion, and I see right here that it does
Let me
have...
close the public hearing.
Okay.
Anybody want to speak to this permit? Close the public hearing.
Okay. I can see that, yeah, I think you estimate, but on your application, it does says volunteers, workers, 50, and spectators, which we consider people involved in the race, 300. So that was filled out, and the maps all look very good, and I will make a motion to approve a temporary event permit for the NIC to host the, for the Wolfeboro Area Recreation Association to host at the NIC a Wolf Triathlon on August 2nd, 2025, Albee Beach along town and private and state roads from 5:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., permit number 202524.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yeah, Paul second. Paul did.
I didn't hear it.
Second.
You sleeping?
Hey, Paul.
Taking a nap. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Vince.
Thank you. Have a great
Thanks.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, our next public hearing, the Wolfeboro Select Board will hold a public hearing Wednesday, April 16th, 2025 at 6:30 to consider a temporary event permit application for Up North Orienteering Club to host an orienteering meet along Heathbrook Preserve and other private property from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Permit number 2025-29. Is there anybody here to speak to this?
It doesn't look like Peter Goodwin is here. He had asked me, he was away to put this application forward, and the event will probably have, he has 40 to 60 people that they have run this quite a number of times. They will run the Heathbrook Preserve. They'll also use his property, and they'll use our property. And he did ask us for permission.
Okay, anybody from the public have any questions? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Anybody have any questions? Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to issue a temporary event permit for Up North Orienteering Club to host an orienteering meeting along the Heathbrook Preserve and other private properties from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Permit 2025-29.
Linda, you have a date?
April 16th.
That would be today.
Well, okay. I was just reading what was here.
May 3rd.
May 3rd.
May 3rd.
May 3rd.
Yep.
I just want to get it on the motion.
On May 3rd.
It says 3 o'clock, 3 or 3:30. Is there more than one?
It says meeting
It says 9:30 to 3.
3.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Linda said 3:30,
Oh, sorry.
so I just wanted to make sure that,
With all of those
wasn't
corrections, I'll second it.
Okay, everybody that's in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay,
I'm going
next-
to step down from the next one.
Okay, the Wolfeboro Select Board will hold a public hearing Wednesday, April 16th, 2025 at 6:30 to consider temporary event permit application for the Wolfeboro's Lions Club to host the 19th Annual Great Smith River Canoe Race, Kayak Race on May 17th, 2025 at Albee Beach in the town docks from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Permit number 2025-30.
Good evening. I'm Roger Murray here representing the Lions Club, seeking a temporary event permit for the 49th running of the Great Smith River Canoe and Kayak Race on May 17th. As in the past, the race will start on Albee Beach. Registration opens at 10, closes at 12:45. The race will start at 1:15. And the races go across Lake Wentworth to Smith River, down Smith River under the Whitten Neck Bridge to Crescent Lake, make a left-hand turn and go down Crescent Lake to the Crescent Lake Dam for a short portage and into the Whitewater section of the race. They run the rapids, go under Route 28 and come out at the site of the old Excelsior Mill where there is a second portage, and they then go down Back Bay to finish at Dockside. I have coordinated with Deputy Chief Nichols at Fire Rescue. They view this as a great training operation, and we're very appreciative of their support. And the proceeds benefit the Wolfeboro Lions Club charities. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, if not, I'll close the public hearing. John, you want to make a motion?
Find it here.
It's the 49th annual, not the 19th.
What did I say?
I knew that wasn't enough, Roger, but that's the way it's written here.
I have trouble with big numbers.
No, I think it's the way it's written on our thing.
You want me to do it?
Make a motion to approve the Smith River Canoe Race for May 17th, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
I'll second that. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
Roger.
Thanks, Roger.
Okay, the Wolfeboro Select Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 16th, 2025 at 6:30 to consider a temporary event permit application for Wolfeboro Parks and Rec to host the 32nd annual Granite Kid Triathlon at Brewster Beach on July 19th, 2025 from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Permit number 2025-31.
Good evening, BoS, Wolfeboro Parks and Rec. This will be our 32nd annual Granite Kid Triathlon that takes place at Brewster Beach for ages 3 to 17 years old. The triathlon starts on Brewster Beach with a short swim, and then we make our way out in the surrounding neighborhoods. Typically, we're limited to 130 participants, and we fill up every year. It's a great event, and all permits and police details have been filled out and submitted.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
I'm assuming the roads are closed where they're running.
Yes.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Somebody want to make a motion?
So move to approve a temporary event permit for the Wolfeboro Parks and Rec to host the 32nd annual Granite Kid Triathlon at Brewster Beach on July 19th, 2025 from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Permit number 2025-31.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Wolfeboro Select Board will hold a public hearing Wednesday, April 16th, 2025 at 6:30. Consider a temporary event permit application for the Wolfeboro Parks and Rec to host the 42nd annual Granite Man Triathlon at Cary Beach on August 16th, 2025 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Permit number 2025-32.
This is our 42nd annual Granite Man Triathlon this year. Typically attracts over 350 competitors from all over the place. We start at Cary Beach with a 3/4 mile swim, a 15-mile bike ride through Wolfeboro and Tuftonboro. The bike ride ends back at the beach and followed by a 4.2 mile run. Another great event to be a part of. All permitting with Marine Patrol, the state, and local police have been submitted. And just a little plug, if you're looking to volunteer, we'd love to have you there.
I certainly won't be there to run in it.
Anybody have any questions?
No, we've seen these quite often.
Yeah, we have.
So I have a question, Bill. So are you attracting any high-level competitors from around the country?
Yes and no. This is more of it's very competitive, but it is for fun. It's not a sanctioned triathlon, but we've been doing it for so long. We continue to see people return year after year to come back. People have been doing it, and it's been in the family for years.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of returning people. A couple years ago, we had the same male finisher. He won it 2 years in a row. But they're all pretty impressive. It's quite the event to see.
Some years, they actually have the one in Guilford on the same weekend that we have ours, and theirs is a full with triathlon, yeah. So it's that kind of gets the more elite athletes, and we have more of the local athletes, which is a great event.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion. I move to issue a temporary event permit for the Wolfeboro Park and Recreation to host the 42nd Annual Granite Man Triathlon at Cary Beach on August 16th, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., permit number 2025-32.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
One more, Bo.
Okay, Wolfeboro Select Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 16th, 2025 at 6:30 to consider a temporary event application for Wolfeboro Parks and Rec to host Food Truck Fridays at Pop Whalen on July 11th, 25th, August 1st, August 22nd, 2025, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Permit 2025-33.
This is a new one for us. It's a 4-part series. We're going to invite food trucks, invite the community. It'll be held at Pop Whalen and Abenaki in the parking lot, featuring 3 to 5 food trucks. We'll have games, music. Hope to have Pop open, so if people want to go in and play pickleball, basketball, they have that option as well. This event will also coincide with our Movies in the Park, or excuse me, Movies on the Hill. We used to do movies in the park at Foss Field. This year, we're changing it up a little bit. We're going to try it at Abenaki at the lodge, at the base of the hill. So again, just inviting the community to come out, utilizing the area. I believe you have the map included. It's going to be in that small lot on the left side by the pond.
Anybody have any questions?
Nope. Sounds awesome.
Sounds good to me.
Something new.
Yep.
Is Brian going to be opening Is Brian going to be opening up the Pop? You said he's going to try to get it open for pickleball and things
Yeah.
like that.
We'll have it staffed, so if people do want to go inside.
Pickleball with your dog. Is he going to try doing?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
So have you entertained any music or anything like that?
Yeah.
We will have music. We're working on trying to get live music at the event.
Your dog like that?
And will this be free?
Yes.
The food
this
will
be
not.
The food will not be free, but the event itself
Okay.
will be free.
It's awesome.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Have a motion?
Move to approve a temporary event permit for the Wolfeboro Parks and Rec to host Food Truck Fridays at Albee Beach on July 11th, July 25th, August 1st, and August 22nd, 2025, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., permit number 2025-33.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Thanks, Bo. See you.
Next is our bulk vote.
Oh, can I just say one thing? I wanted to just make a mention because I had a citizen ask me, why do we go through all these temporary event permits? And the reason we go through all these is on 3/10/1992, Article 9 of our election, the citizens voted to have a ordinance created by the Board of Selectmen to authorize these permits so that they would be heard in public and everybody would know when and how and where they were occurring. So this is why we do this for these events.
I think we also did it for traffic and parking was the other reason. We were having trouble with that, so.
Yep.
It's
Yeah, it's
never a
been going
bad
on for some time.
It's never a
Yes.
bad idea to do this. The process of getting them in front and
We do know
making it
the-
easy would be good.
From these, we do know the public listens to us, at least part of the time.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, it's good because this is, sometimes the public can't find these on calendars. So it's good to do this. If we can ask Amy maybe to help us make it easier on the applicant and then easier on what we say to the public, that would be good. But that's just a working thing. Thanks.
All right, on the bulk vote, A is weekly manifest, April 4th, 2025, $344,661.16. April 11th, 2025, another manifest, $504,719.01. And let's see, what else we got here? We have properties tax credit and exemptions. Then we have some elderly exemptions, tax levy. This was for timber. And somebody want to make a motion to approve those?
I make a motion to approve the bulk vote A through C.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have board committee appointments. Annual appointments to town boards. I think.
Yep.
I thought I had.
And one on the other side.
Yeah, I have those.
You have those?
I was looking for the other ones. Okay, the Ag Commission, David Strong. This is for the Ag Commission for term expires March of 2029. So you want to move to let David continue?
Move to reappoint Mr. David Strock. Term expires March 2029 to the Agricultural Commission.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, trustee of trust funds, alternate position, Blaine Kaiser, term ends March 2026. I'll make a motion that Blaine be on as an alternate, the trustee of trust funds, term to expire in March of 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. New business. We have an email here. Permission to use 3 parking spaces at Bailey's Bubble. Scully's annual request to move. This is something that's been coming up annually. Deb, do you want to speak to that at all? Or?
Good evening. Deb Skelly, Bailey's Bubble. The calendar says that summer is right around the corner, even though it's hard to believe. I just came from the athletic fields up at Kingswood, and it was very cold up there. Yes, we come to the board each year and ask for permission to use the 3 parking spaces that are in front of Bailey's Bubble for safety, for pedestrians, for ease of traffic coming around the corner onto Railroad Ave, and for customers to be safe as well as pedestrians being safe and given the opportunity to use the sidewalk if we can keep our customers down on those parking spaces. It seems to work out well. And we asked for it after 5:30 in the evening when I think the only other business that is open on Railroad Ave is now the wine cellar.
Any other questions for Debbie? Okay.
I do. So I had a conversation with Jim the other day, Deb, and we know that the Bailey's Bubble is now an iconic part of Wolfeboro because everybody loves coming to the bubble in the evening time and getting their ice cream. So one of the things we do know is how much it's grown. And the fact that it has grown so much that it's started to get a little bit more attention in the evening time because there's so many people down there and everybody sees them and so forth. So I commend you for coming to the board and asking for the parking spots for safety. The point that comes to my mind is when those people are coming down and they meet at your place to get their ice cream, I commend you for coming. How does your business coordinate the lines and so that they could either be one line, two lines, or how do you keep them in that area? I know you wrote in your email that you said you wanted to keep them off the sidewalk, but the discussion that I had with Jim kind of evolved into more of a safety issue, to tell you the truth, that you kind of hit on. The issue that I hit on with Jim is we absolutely value the life of those people that coming down there, but we know that that's a throughway where traffic comes in there, and that some nights there can be up to 200 people in that line out into the roadway, and that becomes to me a signal of, are the people that are coming into our town that aren't familiar with our town, are they aware that all those people are out there? And those people that are in line, are they aware that they're in a traffic area also? So it comes down to, I think, a point now where we really have to look at this and differently than we did in the years past because of the growth of the Bailey's Bubble and to the community benefit in its entirety. So what I asked Jim was, what would happen if we cordoned off all of Railroad Ave to allow the pedestrians to go all out in that area, and so traffic wouldn't be coming in, and therefore your pedestrians wouldn't be in harm's way. And he said to me, he says, well, I think we value those other parking spots out there. So I said to him, I was like, well, if we value those parking spots, we obviously value those 3 parking spots that you have also. And I think as a town and me on the board, I want to be consistent moving forward because I know that our town is developing into these micro areas where people want to use different parts of the town property like you are. So then it came down to, okay, if we didn't cordon off Railroad Ave and we valued those 3 parking spots that you use, what's the value of those parking spots as I just want to put it out there as a lease term agreement for the town. We understand it was a COVID issue for spacing. It's a huge benefit of the town. I understand that. I'm just trying to be fair to the rest of the people around the town that they're paying for town property in another location. So what I'm getting to is, if we didn't cordon off Railroad Ave and you were able to work a deal with Jim for something, a lease agreement or a cost for those 3 parking spots, and you were able to put up different barriers in those 3 parking spots and keep your pedestrian or your patrons on the sidewalks in a channel area that would serve 2 separate lines, and we wouldn't have those people out into the road. I think the discussion is bigger for saying we want to cordon off all of Railroad Ave. I mean, I can't make that decision tonight with the rest of the people, but I think it's a worthy discussion, but I felt pretty imperative to talk with it with Jim, and I'll tee it up to the rest of the board to see what they think.
All right, I'll be pretty succinct. I've been watching it for near 20 years, under probably ownership before you and you. I've seen growth and not growth. I don't know if there's 200 people there at a time. There may be at certain times. But the people lining up in front clogged those 3 spots all the time anyways. Cars couldn't get into those 3 spots for so many people being there. So I would see sometimes people come in very aggressively trying to get the people who were lining up to get ice cream out of the way. So I think what Mrs. Skelly has created is a much safer situation. We lose 3 spots, but we don't really lose 3 spots because with so many people there, those spots become congested with people standing anyways. The sidewalk needs to stay open, as Mrs. Skelly said. So I have no problem approving this the way we have in the last 3 or 4 years, and right now I think it's working. And to close down all of Railroad Ave, we would lose way too many spots for the restaurants at night and for the town docks and for a lot.
So to that point, Brian, I'm not saying that we shouldn't allow them to use those 3 spots. I absolutely think it's an absolute safety issue for them to use those spots, because I wouldn't want people to be waiting in line in front of the bubble and have cars coming head on. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, how can we do a better job with keeping their patrons from out in the roadway area and saying later on we should value those spots just like we value all the rest of our land.
I guess I look at it in this way. Though that line at the bubble, they have a successful business. I don't park in those 3 spots during the day because I don't want ice cream all over my car.
I agree.
mean, they are coming out even during the day. I think that it is after our parking, and it allows to try to contain the crowd. If we didn't do it, they would just be even further across the road, which I don't think is a good idea. And I guess the other thing is, we can't even control people from walking out in front of cars and not in the parking crosswalks all summer long. We get this group of people here, they want something. I think if we get so restricted, like shutting down a road, I think it takes away from the rural atmosphere of what we are. I totally support giving those 3 spots.
I do think that last summer, having the parallel spot where the police have taken, I think that made a difference. I think just the presence of the police car in that parking space, whether they were standing out in front of it, which they were many times, they were, talking to people in the crowd or whatever, but I think it made a difference with the way people were coming in Railroad Ave. I really do. I know some people complain because they don't understand why the parking space is there, because the police are facing the direction where they'd have to go all the way around. For me, selfishly, and for the safety, I think it's made a difference.
Dave?
Paul?
Thank you. And thank you for running a great business. I mean, the amount of revenue per square inch is probably pretty good, right?
Well, thank you. We work pretty hard.
So I support carving out 3 parking spaces, full stop. I think that's a great idea. Brian made a good point, and we all worried that before we did this, somebody could accidentally keep going as they were trying to pull into one of those 3 spaces, and that could have been a very difficult situation.
Yeah, and I think having the planters there, which we didn't do 15
Yeah.
years ago,
Right.
makes a big difference.
So the one thing I've heard from a couple of folks is, and I don't know how you control it, but please do the best you can, is the drift out into Railroad Avenue. Because the queue appears to be, it was great during COVID, right? You had these little sticky things and you could kind of, yeah. Well, the queue appears to be not a queue anymore, but kind of like a whatever you want to call it, but there's a drift on the Railroad Avenue.
Yeah.
And to me, that personally creates a concern. And so, you know, we need to contribute to public safety, not just throw our hands up and say, they'll behave. We need to contribute to doing things. So I support what you're doing, but I also support the idea for more discussion. I don't like dismissing things out of hand. I support the idea, particularly after keying on Selectperson Murray's comment about after-hour parking, that sometime between the hours of 6 and 10 on Fridays, and this is not for you, this is for us, somewhere 6 and 10 on Fridays and Saturdays during the summer, we close it and let people come and do their thing. And whether it's 200 people, 1 million, it doesn't matter. People want to come downtown, eat ice cream, and do what we're supposed to do, right? Not drink, come and eat ice cream, have a hot dog, and go home and put the kids to bed. I mean, that's kind of, so I'd like to have more of a conversation about that idea that you were talking about. But I'm fully supportive of it. The only thing I'd ask you, if you get bigger plant pots, more of them so that somebody doesn't actually, you know, slur to the right and either by accident or other malfeasance, you know, get into that and tidy up the queue.
Yep.
That would be my only ask.
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks.
I move to issue the use of 3 parking spaces for Bailey's Bubble, the Skelly's annual request for the ice cream season
Ice cream scene.
of 2025.
Second.
Would you add to that after 5:30?
Oh, after 5:30 and till close.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion tonight? All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda is approval for commercial vessel landing permit, Wake Winnie.
Hello, I'm Torrance Stegmeyer here representing Wake Winnie LLC. Is there any questions on my commercial vessel landing permit application?
I have one question. How many boats do you have?
Currently operate with about 6 boats.
Do you get a permit for each of the boat? Because I was reading, and maybe we need to issue it for you. When you bring in this, it says in our ordinance that you need to carry a permit in each boat. And I guess I'll put this over to Jim. Are we issuing, do we need somewhere to know how many boats? He has 6 boats. It seems like you're going to need 6 permits so he can carry it in the boat?
I would think that that would be an accurate statement. I was not aware of the number of boats. I do believe with the barges, we issued 1 per the company. But this is something that I can dive into a little deeper with Amy.
How has the fleet grown over the years? Like,
How has it?
yeah,
What do
like did you
what do
have 6 this year? Did you have 4 last year, 3 the year before? Or?
Yeah, we're going to have the biggest fleet this year. We've kind of expanded into pontoon boat cruises and charters as well. In the downtime, we do rent our fleet out to qualified people, so it's not like our boats are all coming in for the commercial landing. They kind of dual purpose, something we've had to adjust and do to survive to keep in business.
Yeah.
So question, where do you, if someone rents a pontoon boat, where do they get on, get checked out?
With our rentals, we're kind of a small, more boutique operation. We try to cater to people on an individual level, so we actually will drop those boats off at their rental properties go through the boat right there at the dock.
So you're
They're
not
gonna be
actually
using-
conducting rental operations at the town dock?
There's been times where we will meet a customer there to familiarize them with the boat.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking the question, and maybe this piqued Linda's, is you're showing 300 landings. That's a lot. And that's in that little, that little dock area.
Yes.
So how do we, and you and I probably went at this last year too, how do we figure out, because that was designed for people to add people to their boat, drop people off. It's an add drop slot.
Yes.
Generally for, non-commercial people, most of the people. But how do we figure out, and help us here, you got 300 times you're coming in and out.
I'm just as confused about that dock space as you seem to be right now.
I don't seem to be. I was part of the dock committee. I know what it was designed for.
I was not part of the dock committee. I'd love to be part of these meetings.
Yeah.
I believe that is for the dropping off and for commercial boats, small boats. They go in there.
Correct.
Yes, so the two are going in there.
Yep.
He says he has 6 boats. Do you have all 6 boats going out of the Wolfeboro docks?
On a good day, we will have 6 boats operating on Lake Winnipesaukee. They will come and go at different intervals. A lot of our groups go out for all day. They might get picked up one time at the town docks, one time dropped off.
Yeah.
So that'd be one. We're kind of averaging about 4 to 5 drop-offs per day.
4 or 5, so, okay.
Yep. And we get about 80 operating days throughout the season.
And when you rent the boats, they don't go to that dock, they go to the regular docks.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just like a boat rented from any marina.
Correct.
Per day.
And the place where you launch and load and unload for your business is on our commercial dock.
That's correct, that's where he's doing it.
When it is available, like we just kind of discussed briefly, it's shared between the public. There's no policing of anything. There's no one down there helping us out to look legitimate. We're kind of battling for our importance at the town docks with the current situation.
Yeah, there's no signage. You had,
No, we actually put up a sign last year that tried to indicate that this was for Wake Winnie, and it got taken down by the town.
yeah.
But I know, and I've watched there, sometimes if that's filled, they'll quickly go to another spot in the dock, people get on and they'll go off. And, you have to deal with what is there, so, but that's usually, I've also seen your boat sitting there waiting for the people to come, because I don't know why, but they always don't come right on time.
We try to stick to that 15-minute allotment of time that comes along with that permit. I think we do very well. I don't think there's ever been an instance where we've left the boat unattended for
No,
more
I'm
than
not saying-
a quick bathroom break.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying you're there, and sometimes the people, I
Yeah.
can watch them come, and you've been sitting there for a while because you're waiting for somebody to come to your boat. No,
Yeah.
I don't mean that you leave it there.
So congratulations, your business is growing. Does this problem get better with scale?
I actually have submitted a letter to Mr. Pino. Hopefully we can sit and review that tonight. If we want to dive into that now, I assumed we'd kind of partition it into the vessel landing permit approval or disapproval and the discussion about the town docks.
Okay. It's up to the chair.
So I have,
Go ahead.
nice to meet you, thanks for coming. So are you from the area, or have you been here very long, or did you grow up here, or?
So I live here. I lived here for about 12 years, not native to Wolfeboro. I married a gal from here. She lived her whole life in Wolfeboro. Started Wake Winnie LLC in 2018. It was because I could not find a way to get onto this beautiful lake when I moved here. It was kind of a self-fulfilling wish. Like, how do I get a boat? We can start a business. Help fund that boat. And it's grown. It's a very legitimate business now. We love what we do. It is very hard. I don't know if you've ever started a business of your own, but it is extremely difficult. There are days where I just want to pull all my hair out, and evidence says I've done it. We really care about what we do. Wolfeboro is home for me. I own property here, pay my taxes here, vote here, love the community here. And I feel like every time I come in front of you all, I have to defend the importance of this business that I've created. And it's really getting demoralizing. You know, I hate being in front of people. It's embarrassing for me to be up here. But I will continue trying to get an answer out of you for what we plan to discuss about these commercial dock spaces, because I don't feel like you're gathering what I'm trying to share with you.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Wait a minute.
We have to approve this.
It's not my intent to take, at least my intent, to try and solve that issue tonight that he has. We need to have him and us get together at another time. We're not going to solve it tonight. I think it's an issue, and I don't disagree with him. Tonight's not the night. We have no backup information. We have no plans in front of us. And this, to me, is not the time to do it.
May I share the information that I have so you can all take it under consideration?
That's what I'd like you to do. I don't want to get in a back and forth thing here tonight. I don't think it's necessary tonight. I think the purpose of this is to get you a landing permit so you can go forward, and then we'll take it under advisement and we'll set up some time for you to come and talk to us, because we do have work sessions periodically, and I think that's when it needs to be done, not tonight, John. So
So I'm not, this to Dave. So I had a conversation with Jim about landing permit and where we would land. Are we continuing this discussion and not making a decision tonight, or are we issuing a landing permit?
well, my feeling is we issue him a landing permit tonight. The issues that he has started, I think, last year,
This has been ongoing, first brought to your attention
Right.
at this meeting
but I think
4
that
years ago.
it's come to a point now where if you have 6 boats, we need to talk about that.
So
I
that's,
didn't know that you had that many. I know you had at least 3, but
I'll go to 10, you know,
so,
we'll do it.
so the discussion that I was trying to get to was, how do we get the gentleman to get a landing permit? And my suggestion was to allow him to locate his landing permit at the commercial vessel landing location at the Libby Museum, where the commercial vessel landing happens. So to me, being down there in the town docks is a pretty busy place to do commercial vessel landing.
well, I don't think that's up for us to decide how he runs his business. He's run it for quite a few years out of downtown. So I think if I was him and I just found out tonight that he could run out of Libby Museum, I'd want to say, no, wait a minute. That's not what I've been doing. That's not what I really want to do. You know, I would want to either say, no, that's not acceptable, or he'd have to think about it and come back, or he takes this application that we have tonight and we approve it, and then we sit down with him at another time to discuss the whole issue, which is more than what we're going to do tonight, in my opinion.
Dave, when we sit down and talk about this, I would like everybody who is down there and their issues with be part of a bigger conversation, you know. When we
Sure,
do,
that's
when
fine.
when we do a work session, I think it's a bigger issue.
I don't have a problem with that, but I
okay?
don't want to have him
I'm fine.
leave tonight with nothing,
That's right.
unless he wants to and wants to take John's idea and say, well, wait a minute. I hadn't planned on that tonight.
He's got 6 boats. I mean, I didn't know about that either. I mean, he's shuttling people, he's using the area. Again, I had no idea that it was even going on down there, but obviously it's gonna, going to grow. I mean, I'm looking, I honestly.
There's only space for one boat there at a time. Not all 6 don't ever show up together. There's no room for that to physically happen. The Millie B does come and go on a 45-minute schedule.
Yeah.
So presumably 8 times per day. I'm only in there about 5.
So I'm going to make a motion for this, but first I wanted to say a couple of quick things. One, the Libby dock, as far as I can tell, is a public launch, and it is commercial for barges to stop and launch and to load and unload, but anybody can launch their boat there and take whoever they want out to do whatever they want. People on some of the islands are us, some other friends I know, have 4 boats. So they could take any one of their 4 boats with guests and everything and go to that same commercial dock as a drop-off and pickup. They do that right now. So I don't see any problem with him using it the way the island folks use and everything. And the Libby dock is for anybody who wants to use that dock. There are no restrictions on it that say you can't take and stop and pick up a group of 10 people there and take them out water skiing. There's nothing. So with that said, I'll make a motion that we approve the commercial vessel landing permit for Winnie Wake for the 2025 summer boating season.
I'll second it, and I just want to say that it is where I read about, why I asked you, I happened to read about the commercial vehicle landing permit regulations and fees, and under 36-7C says each vessel will require an individual permit. So that's the reason why all of a sudden I asked you that.
I appreciate you bringing that up. Again, I was just kind of modeling after what the Millie B does, the New Hampshire Boat Museum. They oftentimes bring in the Sophie C as a substitute. I'm just assuming they don't swap the permit between the two. So it could be something to give guidance to everybody that has one.
Yeah, I just read it, and I had in other years, so that's where I got it.
So Dave, can I speak to this? Can I speak? So this is a problem that doesn't get better with scale. The more successful you are, the rougher this becomes for you and for everybody. We have that facility out there trying to land a boat on that little dock is a pain in the neck. I've tried it. I'm not really that good at it. And I feel bad for the next person who comes in and says, what about me? Because I think that's where you're going. What about me? I do believe we should approve this. We're creating a scale problem here. I do believe that we should put on the table with you a conversation about other locations if there are others. And I also want to remind us that, because I know you're going to ask the question about what about those other boats that are out there, mail boat. And, we, the board, took a decision last year on a motion by Ms. Murray to affirm that those 3 vessels that are out there are her terms, which we all 5-0 approved, grandfathered in.
May I ask for clarification? What did you grandfather? I didn't understand that from June 5th last year.
Well, basically,
I can give
go ahead,
you.
Linda, you can do it. You'd made the motion.
Okay, I'll give you a definition, because I thought that might come up. I don't think this is really what Dave was wanting us to do tonight.
It's inside.
Grandfathering is a provision that exempts a business, enterprise, or class of people from a new rule, regulation, or law, but you coming in, that would affect the right or privilege previously held. So
Okay.
this was privilege. So that's how I was applying it.
So may I tell you how I'm hearing it and just tell me if I'm wrong or right? The Millie B to me is now gifted a free parking space and storage space to run their business in perpetuity. But we all understand the Millie B was a for-profit vessel purchased by the New Hampshire Boat Museum. So if I go and buy the Millie B, am I allowed to in perpetuity operate at the Wolfeboro town docks at no cost to me? Is it the Millie B that you've grandfathered to operate freely forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do have a motion in flight, and I think Dave wants to take this to a work session. 'Cause
correct.
my personal opinion is, this ain't going to get better over time, all right? It's just going to get more nastier.
Yeah, because it really felt nasty last year, that
Yeah.
it was really retaliatory against my letter I wrote to you, that you would just throw out the grandfather flag. And
Yeah.
it did seem like a slap in the face to my
So
business.
we got to try to solve it.
Yeah, I would
And I
love to
don't-
work with you on
And
this.
now we're going to have to unwizzle, if that's the right word, unwizzle things we whizzled, which was a motion approved that said, they're in, right? So that all has to get sorted.
They only have approval for the same permit you just
So-
approved me for? I know you've grandfathered something, but we can agree that the vessel is just a vessel. They bring in the Sophie C. The Sophie C has never paid to land here, because you've actually granted operating privileges to the New Hampshire Boat Museum, a business that has no tie to this town. They were here, they sold their land because they had a better deal over there. I live here, I pay taxes here, I vote here, I employ people here. It
This
does
is
not
what I didn't
quite-
want to get into tonight. I'm going to
We don't
stop
wanna
you
get-
there.
But I did start with saying, may I share the things that I know, so you may take them under judgment when you're making your decision. Right now, I cannot see why the town is rejecting my offer to pay fair market value for that dock space, for the utilization of it, the storage of my boats in the downtime, but you would rather give it to a business that has no ties to this town, that actually rejected this town. They don't
Okay.
pay for anything here. They actually are recruiting people to go out of this town. All of my apparel represents Wolfeboro. All of my business represents Wolfeboro. We pick up people here, we drop them off. We are very important. I will defend that to you, because the Millie B's financials are public. They're a nonprofit business. We can look at them. We actually bring more revenue. We service more riders in this town than that boat does. There's a beautiful day in July often where that boat is parked there, covered, because they might not have the manpower, they might have a mechanical error. A business that has to pay expenses runs a better business.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I'm going to close the debate at this point. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me, and I hope we can discuss
We
this
will be in
sometime soon.
touch with you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Emergency Operations Plan Update.
Thank you. Tom Zotti, Fire Chief, Emergency Management Director. As I'm sure the board remembers, during the 2024 budget process, State Department of Homeland Security notified us that to stay eligible for state and federal grants and FEMA reimbursements, we needed to update the town's emergency operations plan. We were successful during the budget process, and we contracted with Garneau Associates, who had performed previous emergency operation plans updates for us. The update has been completed with input from fire and emergency management and other town departments. Their feedback has been incorporated into the plan. Garneau Associates took that input, reconciled it with current state and federal laws and regulations, and produced the document that we ask you to approve today. Because it's approximately 218 pages, my understanding was Amy didn't print out individual copies, but made it available to you.
You ready?
The signature pages are with it, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that might be associated with that.
Any questions for Tom?
Jim, you're fine with the adjustments he's made?
Absolutely.
Jim, you're fine with the adjustments he's made? He said absolutely. I'm good. Thank you, Tom.
On a related note,
Do you
during
want-
this,
Should
Want
we,
a
do you
motion?
want to take care of the motion on this? or
Oh,
you
I'm
stick-
sorry.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the emergency operation plan update.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we've taken care of that.
on a related note, and during this process, I was notified by the town clerk about an emergency operations planning committee and asking if it was due for an update. Frankly, I wasn't familiar with it. Did a little research. I talked to the State Homeland Security Emergency Management. There are no statutory requirements for that committee. They weren't aware of any federal requirements for that committee. And I kind of scratched my head a little bit, and at one point, I believe it was at an election, I talked to Mrs. Murray, who remembered the situation. That committee was formed for a specific previous update of the emergency operations plan, but it's still referenced on the town website, so I guess what I would ask the board to give some thought to is, do we need a formal disbanding of that committee, or can we proceed under the assumption that it fulfilled its mission and no longer exists? Not a hugely pressing issue, but it is referenced on the town website, and it kind of doesn't go anywhere.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So we're going to be talking about committee assignments, and that committee is over there. Maybe we disposition that when we do it there.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, next on the agenda is the budget.
Hello. I'm Sam Kelly, Finance Director. I'm here to do my first actual versus budget report of 2025. The figures are through March, which is 25% of the budget year. As of the end of March, the general fund expenses, we have spent or encumbered 34%, and we've received 4% of the revenue. The water fund, also we've spent or encumbered 34%, whereas 32% revenue has been received. 27% of that is through residents' water bills. The municipal electric fund, we've spent 28% so far, and we've collected 21% revenue. Sewer fund, they are at 75% spent or encumbered through March, and 16% collected for revenue. Let's see. Pup Wheeling Fund, they have spent or encumbered 42% of their budget for the year, but they have also collected 39% of their revenue. Just to keep in mind, these figures will be changing. As you know, there's a bunch of line item transfers proposed, so if those move forward and are approved, this report will, there'll be a lot of shifting of budgets before the end of the month. We've also been given a donation reconciliation, the capital reserve fund planning document, and the gas and diesel allocation costs, which that report is through February. For our department, we've mainly been getting ready for the audit. The auditors will be here next week, so that's been our main focus. And then again, within the last couple of days, the DRA has completed our appropriations review, and we now have our MS 232R, which is the DRA reviewed version. If you have any questions, I will answer.
Do you have any questions? Paul?
You go first.
No, you go.
No.
I was looking at the sewer fund at 75%. Can you kind of give us a rundown on why that one is so much?
Mainly it's because we encumber our contract with Woodard and Curran.
That's the Woodard and Curran contract?
That's the big cost with the sewer fund.
Yeah, so it doesn't, could you another time give us the cost without the encumbrances? Because that would give us the true amount we spent to date.
Sure.
That on that, because it kind of skews it. I saw that that's what was there, but that really isn't all spent.
Yes.
You know, I think I want what goes out the door, especially this year.
Another portion is the bulk of their debt payments have already been paid for the year. So that was the other big piece for that.
Paul, you have a question?
All set?
I'm done.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for your first quarter review. So the budgets are not calendarized, so this is just kind of run rate, you take a big number, divide it by 12, and off it goes. Is that kind of the way it works?
As far as the percentages, yes.
Yeah, okay. So and Linda is right. I mean, certain things skew the number, and you kind of go, what's that? And explanation. I got it. So I did not take the time to go through 136 pages. I just didn't do it. But my question to you would be, is there anything that's jumping off the page that you can rat out Jim and his team that says we got some expenses or revenues that I think are coming in or should, is there anything here that's jumping off the page that we should know about?
No, I think
Things
it'll
are
help
good.
once we get kind of the budget set.
Yeah.
With all these line item transfers.
Yeah.
Going into a default was kind of a new experience for me, so once we shift everything around, I think April's report we'll be on track.
Well, just for me, when we get towards the July timeframe, I'll start asking questions like, do we think we're going to make the numbers? And because that's when it's starting to get real for these enterprise funds.
Sure.
Between now and then, I really would just, if there's something that's jumping off the page, some exogenous factor, something happened, just cue it up. That's all.
Will do.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is an exercise in patience. We watch the budget develop, we watch things get spent.
It's like growing your lawn.
And as we get towards the end of the year, it will all funnel to where it should be.
That's the hope.
Like the swallows to Capistrano.
And so that's why we say if it isn't looking good, please put the signals up.
That's right. If it's looking a little cheesy, just give us a little something there. And one last one, the Pop Whalen, does that 39% revenue, is that the town moving over
We actually
prepaid
have
ice?
not processed.
So the prepaid ice is not in that. So that's real legit money. That's
Correct.
cash in the door. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, we'll be processing the first quarter of town ice rentals before the end of April.
So that should drop off pretty precipitously, though, in the second quarter, because we've shut the ice down. Okay. All right, got it. Okay.
Well, the end, we're going to pick it back up again.
Well, we want summer programs. We should have a flow of summer programs, like walk your dog on the. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Sam?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Next on our agenda is revaluation kickoff meeting. Jim?
Yeah, so there's going to be a reevaluation kickoff meeting April 23rd. I'm not going to be around. Amy will be attending that meeting. He would like to open up to a Board of Selectmen member who would like to attend.
Why don't we just notice the board's going to attend it? Because there are 4 of us, I think, right now.
Okay, I can do
It's
that.
just easier, anybody can
John,
attend.
you want to be there too?
You want to go to this, John? It's a lot of fun.
Dogs can go.
We can all go, we just can't talk to each
We
other.
just can't talk to each other.
Okay, so I'll have it noticed.
That'll be novel.
We'll have it set up in one of, probably the annex room, because that's probably going to be a little bit larger room to be able to do it.
Can you get coffee and donuts in there, all right? Paul? Okay, any other questions about that?
Nope.
Next is default budget line item transfers.
Okay, so we've had, I think, 3 meetings on this to this point, a workshop. Last meeting, you did not motion to make the line item transfers. So in front of you this evening, you have a series of 4 line item transfers to take under consideration. The first one is the $836,509 for municipal operations. That would include wage adjustments for non-union staff, ambulance services, groomer lease, public safety building operations, and no new line items would be added. It would all be contained within the same line items that are already established. Phone and security systems, we tried to do this a couple years ago, if you recall. We put the phone systems all under one line item, they're still broken out by department. When we put them under one line item as the new IT phone system, we went to default budget, and we had to continue breaking it out that way. So we'd like to be able to perform the line item transfer for $53,355. No additional monies there. That's just taking monies from other lines and moving them in to pay for that in one group. Item 3, you
Just a
discussed-
question on that, Jim.
Yep.
The cell phones in that, or you're still keeping those out?
Nope, cell phones are not in that. Cell phones are
Still in the
itemized
departments.
within the employees'
Got it. Got it.
breakout. Public Works, you had discussed $12,000 for drainage. I was able to go in, as I discussed with you. We have some additional funds based on being understaffed. In the personnel administration healthcare line, so I did the $12,000 there, and then I also did the line item transfer for the $2,500 for the fireworks, as you requested at the last meeting. That's a quick summary of the line item transfers. I would recommend that you try to take them one at a time and vote them in or down.
Linda?
Dave, Jim, when I was looking at the section and it was talking about the 12,000 for the drainage pipe, and I went back, and it's just about the third page from the back, it gave us a printout on highways and streets, and it says 24, then it says 25. And I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at, because the drainage pipe structure was at 50,000. Was that what was in the 2025 budget? Is this just giving us an idea where it's going to go?
I believe that is correct.
Okay.
So it shows out the line. It shows you the proposed cost for drainage structures. It shows you what the 2020, or shows you the 2024 budget. It shows you the 2025 proposed number.
So it wasn't added to that line, it's just
Correct.
showing? Okay, I just wanted to make sure
Yep.
that was the case. Okay.
Any other questions? Do you want to take them one at a time, as Jim has suggested, or you want to do it all at once?
I'd much
One
rather
at a
take them
time.
one at a time.
Okay, municipal operations.
I'll make a motion under provision RSA 32:10. The governing body moves to make $836,509 in line item transfers in the general fund as presented in Appendix 1 dated March 27th, 2025. These transfers are for the purpose of funding for wage adjustments for non-union staff, ambulance service, groomer lease, and public safety building operations, and no new line items will be created. All funds are within the bottom line of the 2025 general fund approved budget.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Phone and security system. Somebody want to make a motion on this one, so
I'll make it.
everybody understands?
Dave?
Paul?
Under provisions of RSA 3210, the governing body moves to make $53,355 in line item transfers in the general fund as presented in Annex 2 dates March 26, 2025. These transfers place all telephone and security systems in the existing information technology budget. All funds are within the bottom line of the 2025 general fund approved budget.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Public Works drainage?
I move under provision of RSA 32:10, the governing body moves to make $12,000 in line item transfers in the general fund from account 01-41550-210 to 01-43120-490 for the purpose of drainage, pipe, and structures. All funds are within the bottom line of the 2025 general fund approved budget.
Second.
May I speak to it?
Okay, any further discussion?
May I speak to it, Dave?
Sure.
So I voted, I don't know we voted, but I was part of this conversation last week of adding $12,000. I felt, after doing this, I felt horrible. And I for two reasons. One is $12,000 in the scheme of things is a nit. And the second is that cracked a little thing in my head where I felt I personally crossed the line and said, Jim and Steve Randall, I don't think you know enough about your business. You need another $12,000. That's just my personal opinion. And so I won't be supporting this motion.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Okay, next one is fireworks.
Under provisions of RSA 32:10, the governing body moves to make $2,500 in line item transfers in the general fund from account 01-41550-210 to 01-45832-830 for the purpose of Independence Fireworks. All funds are within the bottom line of the 2025 general fund operating budget. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but these are line item transfers that we are taking and moving from one funding area to another funding area in order to balance out our budget, which is our default budget, which was the budget that was voted in by the taxpayers. And if you have the number in front of you, good. If not, what is the difference between our default budget and our proposed budget? Is it about $2 million?
So if I remember correctly, Brian,
2176.
on the general fund, it was $1.2 million was the separation between the proposed and the default budget. We have, by moving these, we are staying within that bottom line of the approved default budget, and we have balanced that budget proposed to continue, or as adopted, rather, to continue moving forward.
So we have $1.3 million less in our budget than our proposed budget, and that means that as a whole, we have had cuts in departments to meet the default budget requirements, so that people understand that we are operating on less money this year than was proposed at the beginning of the cycle at the deliberative session.
That is correct.
I'm going to second your motion, Brian.
Okay.
Or did you second it?
No, you can second it. I just want to go on from where Brian was saying. We have the default budget, but we had to cover the ambulance, which was $500,000. And that's part of why all these things are moving, is because we had to cover items that the taxpayer needs us to have that got taken out with the default budget.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Who seconded it?
Paul did.
Oh, okay,
Paul.
thank you. Just didn't have it in my notes.
Okay.
Thank you. So we'll make these line item transfer adjustments. We'll also be adding in the funds that were approved by the voters regarding the collective bargaining agreement. So your next finance report should look different than what you see today.
Okay, next on our agenda is proposed changes of Board of Selectmen rules and procedure. As you see in these rules and procedure, the basic things that we're changing We are now the Wolfeboro Select Board, so Select Board member in Section 2A. And then we go all the way over to page 4.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so this might be the place where we can start to chew on Chief Zadi's question, the dissolution question. We have standing committees on page 2, which talk about the EMC and the EOC. So I think is it the EOC, the one that is a standing committee?
Yes.
Jim? Or is it EMC is the one? Which one of the two should we dissolve?
Emergency operations.
So it's
We
the
don't have the
emergency.
planning committee on here.
Yeah, so it's the Emergency Operation Committee. It may not be the
Well,
planning.
it may be, let's,
Maybe EOC.
okay, let me look over here. See, we have,
So you got the EMC and the EOPC.
well, on our list of ones, we had the Emergency Operation
Yes.
Planning Committee. On the list that we have, it says the Emergency Management Committee and the Emergency Operation Committee. The word plan isn't on in here.
So I'm thinking that item,
I don't, do you still have that?
No.
We met for a while after COVID.
Right.
that was it.
Now, if I may, what I think you're referring to during and after COVID was the actual
EOC.
implementation of the Emergency Operations Center.
Yes.
And we had filled out all the positions and were dealing with the issues surrounding COVID and so forth.
But didn't you call it an Emergency Operation Committee? I think I have a file that said that. I think there
We
were,
cracked that open during COVID and met
Yeah,
frequently. And
I don't know if it was ever formally called that, other than, we got a group of people meeting for a purpose. It's a committee, I guess, but I think you find what it was the actual meeting and discussions amongst the individuals filling out the emergency operations function of the town, which obviously the board has a role in. But I'm not, again, based on the previous conversation, discussing it with folks at the state level, nobody was aware of any statutory requirement for any type of committee like that. I believe it was just what you had indicated, was it was developed for that purpose of updating the plan, and maybe never was officially disbanded.
yeah, I'm just surprised because there's the two names of the two committees in our thing, so I know that one committee we talked about, that's what it was established for, but I'm not quite sure what we're talking about on these two committees. That's
so
what
are
I was
we
trying-
keen to prospectively delete item F from the standing committee list?
That's what I'm thinking.
Move that we delete item F from the standing committee list.
And that's the Emergency Operations Committee. That's one you think should.
And then when we get over to committee assignments, we'll have to deal with the EOPC, but I have a
Yeah,
motion
there
on
are
the
two of them
table.
on the master list.
One second.
You're making the motion to...
I made a motion to
and now
delete item F.
I will second that.
Thank you.
Okay. But my understanding is we can't vote on that until the next meeting because that's the rules.
That's fine.
But it's been...
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
I thought we had to wait until the next
Well,
meeting.
Well,
somebody
we
can come back and say we made a mistake, but we support it, right?
Yeah,
What do you want to do?
we'd have
Nope,
to have
I'm
a...
fine. I just
I thought the motion was to remove the committee and not
vote.
vote on the
Well,
bylaws.
we still need to vote on the committee
At the next meeting.
being removed.
Okay.
So we didn't vote. We'll just unvote the vote. And on the select board representative, I can go either way, but as I look at Friends of Libby Museum, I think of the Libby Project as a new name because I think it's more encompassing of lots of people. What do you think about that?
I guess I'd leave it until we,
Figure out what the hell we're going to do.
yeah. And let
I'm
me,
okay with that. I'm all right with that.
Dave, can I read a section of this?
Sure.
Okay, what I was talking about, it says Section 8, Amendment Procedure. Amendment to these rules of procedure may be moved at a board meeting, but shall not be voted upon until the next regular scheduled meeting, no less than 7 days. And I was just trying to follow our,
Okay, that's
Yeah, but
fine.
we need a reason for that, and I think what we just did gives us that reason to vote at the next meeting to dissolve it.
Well,
okay?
and the reason is we're
That's what I think.
removing a committee that
Because
is
otherwise, you gotta,
not functioning.
this thing go around in big circles. All right,
Okay?
you want to
So
move
you're okay
on?
with leaving the Friends of Liberty to not changing it?
Yep.
You guys are, I can go either way with that. It's fine. Okay.
Anything on page 4 that's highlighted that? Yeah, what do I have here? Okay. So let's see, I don't think there was anything else.
So again, Linda, what's the protocol here? We can say we want to change this, but we can't officially change it until the
Till
next
the next
meeting?
meeting, correct.
That one change, but the ones that are in yellow here, we've already approved, because we talked about it one
Public
meeting,
input.
and
Got
then
it.
at
All
April
right.
2nd,
Got
we
it.
voted it. All
Got it.
those have been voted in, except for the change in it to select board member.
Got
That all is new. But the public input we changed,
Right.
and we changed, added something to appointments.
Okay, next on our agenda is Select Board Committee assignments. And I have Linda has volunteered for a few committees.
I did too.
Okay, let's go down through them then. Agricultural Commission. I don't mind staying at that, they meet pretty regular now. Budget Committee,
I'm fine on the Budget Committee.
I'd like to join too, or I think, Linda, that's your space, so
You know,
whatever.
I'm only an alternate. You want to go be the alternate there? I am
You're ready
fine.
you're ready to
You
hang up
can
your
take
sneakers.
those meetings. This is not top on my list. I have to be.
I got to go hang out with this guy. Yeah, would you mind? You're okay with
No, I'm fine. Absolutely fine.
okay.
that? Thank you.
Cable TV Advisory Committee,
Point of view, doesn't serve a purpose. We signed a contract with the cable company. There's nothing else left to do with that committee. That's my point of view.
so is your recommendation we take that Cable TV Advisory Committee off of?
That would be my
Off the
advice.
list?
Just dissolve it. Yeah, my advice would be dissolve the committee.
And since this is not in our rules of procedure, we could do it tonight.
Sit down. Sits there like that. I don't know when she does that. Are you okay with that? Because you had some interest in the cable thing.
Did you make that a motion, Brian?
did.
You seconded?
I did make that a motion. Brian, did you second that?
The only thing that I'm looking at is we do have two companies now that are going to be offering to us fiber optics. And it's going to be available for the citizens in town. And I don't know if we might have to start another committee that's based on the laying out of the fiber optics in town and having two different companies involved,
Well,
or if it's just the market and it's going to take care of itself.
A market, I think.
My concept is.
This was
the
for
market.
cable TV when we first started and the radio, the TV station started. That was the purpose of it.
Getting rid of that, does that affect our interactions with our local TV?
No, it's down below.
No.
That's
Wolfeboro Community.
No.
Yeah.
No?
I'll make a motion that we remove the Cable TV Advisory Committee and the alternate to it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Chamber of Commerce,
I'm willing to do that if nobody else wants to. And
Brad was the alternate. Somebody like to do that? Paul?
Sure.
you don't have to come very often unless I
I'll
don't make
come.
it.
I mean, I'll come, as long as they don't throw anything at me.
Too early for me.
Sure.
Okay. Capital Improvements Planning Committee?
Geez, I don't have anybody jump up.
Okay, if nobody wants to get on it, I'll stay on it. It's one that I've been on a long time, and I was willing to give some room for somebody else, but if nobody else wants to do it, I'll do it.
I don't mind stepping off as the alternate if somebody else wants to be the alternate to it. I don't know if John would want to. It's a good committee because you see all the projects. I will miss seeing all the projects coming forward and seeing the spreadsheets and everything. But I mean, I can either stay on or pass it to somebody if they want to be the alternate. All right, I'll stay.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Charrette Committee?
What is that?
That's the charrette they did in
They had-
downtown Laner.
For downtown, yeah.
So we can remove that.
You making that a motion?
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Conservation Commission Liaison? I don't have any problem with staying on that.
Okay.
Economic Development Committee?
I'd like to stay there. I need them.
And I would like
And
to,
they need you.
I'd like to stay on as the alternate, because I run last night Wolfeboro from the
Okay.
EDC.
Special events last night.
Yeah, that's part of that EDC.
Okay, Emergency Management Committee?
I'm okay being the alternate on that.
Okay, Emergency Operations Planning?
I think we're probably going to zip that out.
Are you making a motion?
I move that we eliminate it from here.
I'll second.
You're going to second that one? Okay. All those in,
Emergency Operations Planning Committee?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second to remove it.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Energy Commission?
I want to stay.
It's good for you.
Good for you.
Friends of Abenaki?
I'll be glad to be your backup, Dave, or if you want to give it up, I'd love to get involved in that.
No, I'll stay there.
Unless anybody else wants to do the backup. No? Okay.
Friends of Libby?
I'd be glad to stay with it.
Hazardous Mitigation?
Is that committee meeting now?
I don't think so. I think these that probably should have been an ad hoc, which I think is.
I think so.
Okay, so you want to
I'll make a
take the hazard
motion.
mitigation?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
To do what?
second.
Remove it.
I'll second it.
Yep.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Heritage Commission?
I will stay on it.
Household Hazardous Product Facility Board? Paul?
I don't know how my name got on that.
Well, it's there now. You want to keep it there?
What's there now?
It's been there for a while.
You
Library?
know why? I think Linda, you and I got tagged on that one when we sojourned with Jim down to Alton.
Yeah, and I'll be the alternate,
All right, that's fine.
so the two of us.
Thank you, Jim, for putting your
Library
name on.
Liaison?
I'll do the library.
Appreciate that, Jim.
Milfoil Committee, Linda?
I'm comfortable staying on this.
Brian is an alternate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Negotiating Committee?
I'm comfortable.
Yeah, I am as well. Planning Board?
I'd like to volunteer, but I'd like a second.
I'll second.
So who else?
John.
You're going to be the alternate?
John, the alternate. I'll be the prime, or do you want to be the prime? It's up
No,
to
you
you.
be the prime.
You sure?
I thought you said.
You sure? You sure you want to do it? Okay. All right, that's fine.
So Paul, you're the,
Prime,
and he's the
John's the
alternate.
alternate.
Police Commission liaison,
I'd be glad to stay there. Brian, you're the alternate. You wanna
Brian's
stay?
the alternate.
Yeah.
Okay, Wolfeboro Community TV, we no longer have that.
No, we do.
Well, we do.
And I will do that one.
You want a second, Linda?
If somebody else wants to, they, you know,
Okay, Linda, you're there. Wolfeboro Historical Society,
if nobody wants to do it, I will stay with that.
Wolfeboro Waters.
Definitely want to stay with that.
Do
Anybody
we
else?
need an alternate?
Well, you got to,
No.
Brett was the alternate, so we need an alternate.
John, will
Yeah.
you join me on that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, good.
Waters.
yeah.
Thank you, John. Okay. Ad hoc committees,
That's Linda and I for both.
the only thing we still have is sidewalks.
Yeah, we do, and we got to finish that one.
Yeah, and I think the Town Dock Ad hoc Committee still has, the last phase is the Smith River
Seawall.
Yep.
seawall.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm willing to go off of that. John, you did a lot of work on the
Yeah, we were
Town Dock.
co-chairs there.
Would you like to, I'll come off and you'll,
Sure. I'll be
okay.
the prime.
Yep,
For the docks?
yeah.
So it's John and I.
Brian, you want to stay on that?
Yep, I'm fine on it with him.
Community Center Subcommittee is not active. So. Okay, we have anything else?
So if it is it not coming up, the community center? Or I'd like to be the prime on that one.
Well, they haven't really activated a subcommittee on that yet.
They haven't? Okay, so.
Well, I mean, they have ideas, but
Well,
I don't
but
think they've.
the good
jumped
news
on the
is money's
horse
been
yet.
spent. You know, there's money being spent to evaluate the buildings and the soils. So somehow it's
That's
going to
already
get kicked
done.
up.
Yeah, Linda.
What happened is we did the charrette, and we looked at that area, and out of that charrette, we formed the Community Center Subcommittee, and the charrette committee kind of didn't do anything.
But we're not, I mean, that's, the way I see it is, it's in development, though. It's a program that we should be moving forward with, I think.
Well, we looked at it, I mean, we can reinstate it, and we can try to get the charrette committee back.
I mean, there was a Girl Scouts program. I mean, they want to level if they want to level the building down there, if they want to do something with the electric building. I mean, I don't honestly want to see that just fester into nothing down there.
Sounds like you got signed up.
I'm comfortable with you taking the lead on it, John, and
All right.
if you want help, I will help you with it.
All right.
All right?
It's also in the CIP, isn't
been
it?
through the
Isn't it in this past year's CIP, but it got parked a couple of years out in the future?
I think that's the problem. It
kinda
was
like moving
pushed
out.
forward. What they came in with a big development that the money in the capital reserve didn't cover. And then the question is, can we put a big capital building project out again? But
So-
I'm willing to work with you, and let's see what we
Yeah.
can.
I think that's a noble cause. I think it's
So-
a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to be planning.
Yeah, I'll work
We
with
don't
Oh,
you.
wait a minute.
plan.
Don't use those words in this meeting.
I've got my charrette book.
So is it Dave or Linda?
Both of us can work
Okay.
with you.
Do you want to work with him?
No, we can both work with them.
Okay.
Well, if three of us work, we get a quorum.
Okay.
Well, I guess we can.
We three of
We
us
don't
work
always
together?
have to be.
It'd be tough because you'd have to notice a
Okay,
meeting.
that sounds good. Okay.
You have that charrette stuff, which I don't have.
Yeah, I have the charrette book and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, we all set on appointments then?
I think so.
Oh, I sent out an email to everybody and asked Amy to put something in there in everybody's mailbox. I don't know if you got it. And it was two. And one was that I wanted to see if we would have a discussion sometime about having an engineering advisory committee. And when I was looking for the Energy Advisory Committee, I happened to find this. And this parlays right on to what we're doing. If you actually go through and you look at this, you'll see that, and I found it very interesting, so it doesn't go far enough, I don't think. There's actually Massachusetts, I think it's Plymouth, Mass, is doing with this group. They're looking at using this group as volunteer engineers to help them look at removing seasonal water lines and creating year-round water line service to residents in this community. They have 5,000 residents or something that are on seasonal water lines. So seeing this and knowing what happens at Wolfeboro Waters and knowing what happens at the Energy Committee, where the Energy Committee has been very valuable with experts in solar for Barry, helping him, move the bar forward. I think that it's something that we should look at and talk about having an advisory committee with engineers that are good and knowledgeable about capital projects, whether they be road, water, sewer, electric, or anything, that are volunteers, that all they do is review plans and they could review work. They're not going to tell Steve Randall what to do. They're not going to design things. They're not going to stamp things as certified. They're a set of very well-trained eyes to just look at things and maybe point out things that we could miss and that even an engineering firm could miss who's designing or who's building. And don't say that they're all perfect and they're great every time, because, Linda, the RIB
They
said.
say, here we go.
And other things that we've had happen in town where the engineers, a new engineer comes in on a project, they're overloaded with work at the same time, and we end up with an issue in our engineering. And that has happened to us. So it's just a consideration to see if anybody would want to try and have that as a potential committee coming forward.
I would be interested in it in terms of them looking and reviewing plans, not into having them go in and review the work that's being done. I think that kind of steps on Steve Randall's overview. But to get a second set of eyes on a set of plans, I think that makes sense.
I mean, who knows what their actual role will be as they develop and they start by just reviewing plans and seeing things. Maybe we find enough expertise where, don't there group members of Wolfeboro Waters that now test water? Did they always test water, Wolfeboro Waters? Nope, but it's developed into that.
Well, they've been educated to do that.
Correct.
They've taken courses.
And it could be to a point where Steve finds that a couple of his volunteers on this committee are so adept at what they do that he might reach out to them and say, hey, help me with this. Just a thought.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Select Board Work Plan.
Yay!
Like to speak to it? So the work plan was developed back in, when was it, Linda? December?
It was December 4th, 2024.
Roughly speaking, it was December 4th of 2024. And we reviewed this with the town manager sometime in January. And Jim, your comment, I remember, was, that's a lot of stuff to do. I personally believe that without a work plan, you don't have a rudder. You don't know where you're going. You're interrupt driven. And so for the benefit of the public, just a couple of lines on the work plan. Some of it will harken back to what we've been talking about. Number 1, review all fees and establish a timeline for a yearly review. That sound familiar? Continue to review and approve fee structures for all enterprise funds with an eye towards ensuring that surplus funds become available for future investments. Number 2, establish a database for all licenses and lease agreements. Review the timeline and annual increases for renewal. Examine, renew external leases with an eye towards market-based rates. Hold work sessions on how to support Wolfeboro Community TV. This one was my favorite because I wrote it. Update the town's financial policies with an eye towards improved operating metrics as well as much improved financial and budget reporting to the public. Not to us, but to the public. And then it goes on and on.
Well, you should read everybody's.
All right, let's read them all. Work with the Heritage Commission to address the Libby Museum's building issues. Sound familiar? Review and publish water and sewer capacity data. Obtain whatever contemporaneous information is required. Ensure that the data delineates town-wide capacities. Emphasize water quality issues with all projects. Review the Wolfeboro Bay Watershed Management Plan and move forward with the Wolfeboro Management Plan recommendations. Address the chronic operating losses at the Pop Whalen and Art Center and set a plan to return it to levels promoted by the Board of Selectmen to the voters at the 2022 deliberative session. Continue to educate the public on Route 28, and this one's for our beloved Chief Zadi. Continue to address the town's needs for ambulance services. And Linda, you and I went back and forth on maybe adding a couple of more lines to the ambulance thing, like, you know, quarterly reports. But to me, personally, this was done at the end of last year, and we're now almost in the month of May. And I think we ought to personally have this on our desk, and we ought to personally make sure that while we're doing all these other very important things, that this stuff rises to the top of the pile, and we keep looking at this, because it may or may not convince the voters that we're doing a different thing this year, but I worry that we need to do something different this year so that we don't find ourselves back in 2026 looking at a default budget. And I think these things would help us mine ourselves out of the ditch.
Linda?
Yeah, and I have looked at it a couple times, and, you know, I think we have moved on the ambulance service. I think we spent a lot of time educating the public on Route 28. I can tell you, in terms of emphasizing water quality issues, that Wolfeboro Waters does look at the Wolfeboro Bay Management Plan, and that one of our projects, and I was going to do it in my report, which I will still do on it, that we are working on the first site chosen in that plan, which is from Pleasant Valley Road down to Abenaki Estates on Route 28 to address that drainage. So that one's moving along. I think we have been keeping a close eye on the Pop Whalen Ice Arena and Art Center and looking at that. We did set the water and sewer rates. And we did look at the future. So I think we've done work on it, and I have kept an eye on where we are. We have a bunch of them that we still need to, yes, that's a nice
Get
word.
at them. Dave?
Brian?
So what I see, and I agree with what Linda and Paul said, but when I have a list at home to do, I have a today, this week, next week, next month, by Christmas in 2028. So when I look at this, there are things that I think that we need to prioritize, and we need to set some dates and times, whether it be we're going to finish this by this year. This is an ongoing thing. So water quality is ongoing. That just becomes something that's listed as ongoing. So I think we need things that we can do now, things that we need to do going forward, and things that are ongoing. Because what are we going to do? We're going to fix the water quality issues, and that's it. We're done. No, that's an ongoing thing.
It says to take a plan and to address it. And I'm saying, we're doing that.
So maybe we break this up a little bit and say, okay, item 1, 3, 6, we're going to do this year and make sure they're done and they're off our plate. Item 6, 8, and 12, I'm just making up numbers, I'm not even reading them. Those are things that are ongoing that we will check in on a regular basis and make sure that we are touching these.
I couldn't agree more.
We just got this list. Some of us may have it in our heads, but I don't think we're going to sort it out tonight.
No,
I think we ought
this
to
is just
take it-
something we need to do
we
going
ought to
forward.
Take it home, and at some point, we look at it, and then maybe each one of us could number them, what they feel is number one, or whatever, where we should start and go to. Linda?
Yeah, I agree with Brian that I think target dates would move us along.
Absolutely.
I think that's what he's talking about, and I think
Right.
I got to agree with it. I think we should take a look at putting some target dates.
Absolutely.
And some things won't have target dates, like water quality. That's,
But we have a management plan. We do have items that move us along to address it, and that's important that we take the plans and that we move them along and not leave them on the shelf.
yeah, educate people
We
on
get
Route
to-
28. That will be until it's
We're
done.
Done. We got 2029, right?
Yeah, or 32
Until
or whatever.
all the trees are planted.
I'll give you an update on the Libby when we get to committee reports, too.
So I want to poke in here a little bit. So I think tonight was a real good reason why we should review all fees and to look at the town properties that I'm just going to speak to the people that are out there because I'm not going to say my board isn't listening, but the people out there are speaking to me saying, we're running default budgets, we're not getting the money, we should be getting money, justifying getting the money so we can pay our fireworks off, justifying renting a dock so that we can pay the chamber for a calendar. We should be doing things that justify us spending money. And I'm not here for a lecture. Again, I'm speaking to the people that are sitting at home saying, good, John, let everybody know what's not going on with our board. I mean, I took a tongue lashing here tonight. Seriously. We acknowledge that we have businesses that are doing great out there. I wasn't putting down the fact that it wasn't for safety, but we have businesses out there that are doing very well. And if it comes down to them helping contribute to the town because they're doing well, because we're supporting them, that's us working together with them. And when you do your leases for boats and you're giving it to them for $57, people are looking at us at home saying, what are we doing? Seriously, we need to focus more on our revenue side of things and upping our game a little bit and just focusing on what we need to spend our money on. Because what I'm hearing from the people out there is they're defaulting our budget because they don't think that we're responsible people for the money. I think we should do a better job. I'm going to step into the next one. I think we need to look into a facilities manager position to address our facilities and our projects. We have hired contractors to do projects, and we have had some crappy work done. Seriously. I've been up there to the library. I've got hundreds of pictures to show the drainage project that's up there. I was over at the police and fire building this week taking pictures of the parking lot and the drainage that's going on over there. I'm hearing it from other people saying, I don't know if we got the quality. So we also have buildings that we allow them to just fall into disrepair until we need to spend millions of dollars on them to repair them. I know we have department heads that are out there that need things done, but it's not in their forte to do those things. They need somebody a little bit more qualified. I don't see us piling on to Steve Randall to say, Steve, you're doing one job, you need to take care of this other building and this other building. On the planning board, when we did the master plan facilities chapter, we noted the town needs a facilities manager. It was 5 years ago. We've kicked the can down the road. We've got positions open for engineers. We've got other positions that we're taking the money that aren't being filled to pay for our budget items that weren't funded. It becomes a point when you say, okay, if we have a facilities manager and we can pay that person, we might save some money down the road, and we might not have to spend more money to fix our problems. And then those problems won't go by us, and we'll address them. My last one is, this is the big one. We need to start reviewing our as-built plans on our planning board. We need people to oversee our stormwater projects. I can remember back on the planning board, we were approving plans, and Rob Hausman was going to be the guy to check our drainage systems where our applicants were designing things. I watched the planning board the other night. They read all the conditions. Conditions said to do this, but that was it. Nobody was going to oversee it when it was done. I'm sitting there going, we're not following through. So, to me, I don't want to bloviate here, but we've got some issues that we should be addressing on our work program.
Thank you, Mr. Thurston.
Okay, any other business?
Yes, I have some other business. The Wolfeboro Waters Committee want to notify the Select Board of its intention to investigate the stormwater coming off the Kingswood complex, running down the wooded area, running parallel to Pleasant Valley Road, going across Brewster Heights, then down across Pleasant Valley Road, through the drainage ditches on Crossroads, and into the north end of Russ Pond. Wolfeboro Waters would like to work with the Governor Wentworth Regional School District to evaluate the stormwater drainage system at the complex. And I have here tonight with me Libby Peer. She will inform the board on the Russ Pond's conversation with DES and why the investigation of the stormwater drainage system at the Kingswood complex is important. And the reason it's under other business, Wolfeboro Waters just met, and we'd like to get going on this. So, Libby, would you like to come up and fill them in on the other?
Is the board okay with this?
Sure. Hi, I'm Libby Peard, and I'm here as a Wolfeboro Waters Committee member, but also as one with oversight of the Russ Pond Association. We have been focused for many years, if not decades, on doing all that we can to address water quality impairment issues in Russ Pond. That has led us to apply for a number of 319 grants through the years, and our latest application has led to really productive conversations with Rennie Pelletier, who is you probably know, but the director of the water division at New Hampshire DES. And he has been wonderfully supportive in encouraging us to take a broader look at watershed issues and begin to do all that we can to address impacts at the source. And so that's really led us to think about places like the Kingswood complex. As Linda said, water up there ends up down in Russ Pond. And so I think conversations that started really in the context of replacing the turf field led Wolfeboro Waters and certainly Russ Pond representatives to really start thinking about what the issues are, and the issues are drainage systems appropriately configured to do all that they can to address water that's upstream. And I think this next step to begin to learn more about those systems for drainage and containment will help us get our heads around how we might take steps going forward, ideally with support from DES to try and make a difference as water comes to Russ Pond.
And DES really wanted us to start looking up higher. And the reason I brought this to you tonight is Wolfeboro Waters is a subcommittee of the Board of Selectmen, and we didn't want to go forward and be meeting with the Governor Wentworth Regional School District without you knowing it and why we were doing it.
So our other business is really notification about plans to investigate, and we hope you agree that that's a productive step forward.
Paul?
A couple of questions, not for you, but thank you for that.
Sure.
And you won't get an answer to this, but when the high school built their project, they clearly had to go before the planning board. And this gets back to Mr. Thurston's comment about come up with a stormwater management plan. Is it being realized, enforced, monitored, whatever? So there has to be a stormwater management plan, I would think, for the high school, right?
That was 1960.
There has to be something for the new high school.
No, that was the
Dated stormwater.
American Recovery Act, 42 million.
Point one, maybe we need to find that and see if there's anything that's, not functioning the way it should.
high school was
I think John inferred that there's a couple of do-overs that we might have in our town, things. And then the second is, Jim, you're aware of this, and what are your thoughts about how this works?
I was made aware of it yesterday afternoon. I think it's appropriate for them to come in front of you as the Board of Selectmen to advise you they're reaching out to another entity in town that is governmental related.
Yep.
So that you're not hearing it on the street third hand.
Okay.
And I should say this is very much about our wanting to work in partnership. This is not about launching a contentious relationship.
No, I think I just want to make sure that I have this unpopular comment I call storming the castle.
Okay.
I think that's not a good thing. Storming the castle, never a good thing. Climbing over the moats, And this sounds like a very genuinely nice thing to do. When I say nice, appropriate thing to do. I just want to make sure that, as you begin the conversations, there's got to be some kind of records of stormwater issues dealing in plans for the high school. There's got to be something out there, right? I'm looking at John Thurston because you live out there. You know what's going on.
Linda?
Yeah, I know, and I've walked up it because it's the land behind my daughter, and there's a big pipe that they did a nice job of doing some water management and getting rid of nutrients on their site, but they put it into a pipe and they throw it down a hill through the woods, and we all know what happens with that.
Yeah.
And so that is what we want to see, if there's another way of having or doing something with that water.
So behind the new arts center, between the football field, there's a depression area with a dome type thing that has the grates over it, so the water's supposed to mitigate in that stormwater retention area, and then it goes down towards Brewster Heights Way, and then eventually does cross the road to Cross Road and down the Hutchinson's property. So it all happens at the high school, coming off of their parking lots and the fields. That was Jeremy Hiltz of Hiltz Construction that did the work. And on the other side, you have the the junior high and the high school where they had two 2-foot-sized culverts that dumped onto the golf course property, and the golf course paid Antonucci Construction $100,000 20 years ago to do a stormwater system down there that is so enormous it will never. I think it's met its capacity once, but the other problem there is you have the golf course property that has all its gravel roads. Their maintenance program is pretty skimpy, and when they get rainstorms like we had last year, they lost all their cart paths and they all washed into Crescent Lake. So I see the golf course as being more of a problem than the high school, to be honest with you.
Well, I think we're dealing with a problem with the 319 grant and talking to DES, and they're telling them to go up. They're not going to do patchwork down below.
Yeah.
And so it really was that conversation with DES that made us say, okay, we really have to go up here because they're not going to do any of the patchwork. I think there is a whole nother issue over there that needs to be addressed on the other side. But this came out of a 319 grant from DES.
The other thing I would say, Paul, just for what you just said, I was clear with both Linda and Libby that this really should be an agenda item. However, given 3 weeks till our next meeting, the timeliness of it, it was kind of important that they briefed you.
This sounds like a chunky one, right? It's got substance to it. It's a big tract of land. Water's going places it shouldn't go. I want to make sure that if somebody built something, that's my only concern, and John can help here. If somebody built something that's not performing, well, we have two choices. We could just yell at them, and or we could just say, it's got to work. And more on the latter. Yeah, I think this is good. I just want to make sure we're all aligned here.
They do use some pervious asphalt at the high school, correct, at the complex?
Well, it sure is hard to tell that because there's an awful lot of sand.
They did do pervious asphalt in the football field parking lot, just underneath the cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also
And the Art Center.
In the Arts Center, yes, but it's just underneath where the cars park.
Yeah, because it couldn't handle the constant traffic. That's why
Correct.
they don't use it other than where the cars park. So, and the idea is supposed to be that you crown your parking lots and your roadways so that the water hits the non-pervious asphalt, runs to the pervious asphalt, and some of it, not a lot of it, whatever, some of it makes it through so that it doesn't end up in the stormwater drainage and systems.
See what you started?
There's a lot of conversations about
Yeah,
that
no.
complex we're going to take a look at.
It's a low-interest topic,
And
right?
that's it. There's a lot to learn and a lot, I'm sure, that's being done in all the right ways. But as conditions change,
Yep.
there may be the need to tweak systems.
The big question comes to containment. How do you hold the water and then you
Up there,
release it very slowly? So so really, when Stan Tech was here, we were talking about the Route 28 project. We talked about cutting-edge systems to hold back a lot of our stormwater, and really similar concepts down Port Wetland Road. We should have been putting 40,000-gallon tanks in the ground, holding the water back and allowing it to release at a slow rate, and instead of just releasing it outflow.
Yep.
I'm getting an education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
So, Dave, I have a few things under other business. I'd like to make a motion that we notify the representative from NEMBA and the CEO of Lakes Region Conservation Trust when we have the Wolfeboro NEMBA chapter at our Board of Selectmen meetings, just so they understand that we are having a discussion with them and they can determine whether or not they want to participate. I talked to both the CEO of Lakes Region Conservation Trust and the CEO of the NEMBA, New England Mountain Bike Association, and they both thought that it would be a nice idea. They would like to be notified. So that's my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Any discussion?
Personal opinion is, don't need a motion to extend a courtesy invitation to somebody. That's just the way I look at it.
Well, I was told that I had to get an approval from the board to do it, so I thought a motion would get an approval from the board to do it.
Yeah, I said to Brian, he just himself shouldn't ask, that it should be the Board of Selectmen to ask them to come.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think it's a board decision to put out a formal invitation to two agencies to come to our meetings.
Do you get board approval to invite agencies to other committees?
To this committee, I think we do.
To other committees? Like other committees we just went through, do we get board approval to invite other state agencies or private agencies to those other committees? I don't think we do. My reaction is, should we do that? Sure. Is it a courtesy? Yes. Do we need a motion to do that? I'm not sure. I don't think so.
So should I just get a consensus then? Is it okay if Jim Pinio or Amy notifies the CEO of Lakes Region Conservation Trust and the CEO of the NEMBA chapter when we're having meetings with the Wolfeboro chapter of NEMBA so that they can either view or not view at their choice?
I wouldn't mind.
What's your objective?
There's no objective. I just talked to them and said, would you be interested in knowing how the chapter is operating in town? Because we are in a MOU and a contract with the NEMBA Wolfeboro organization. When a trail gets built, we know what happens. What happens is we end up having to sign the build contract and pay the contract because it's on public land. So it's just it's a good thing for the NEMBA chapter to work with us and for us to be in communication with the CEO of NEMBA. And Lakes Region Conservation Trust thought that because we have bike trails and cross-country ski trails and other things that happen at Sewell Road, that they would like to know what is happening with our bike trails and our ski trails and other things in town. Because we're all working towards the same goal, and that's having multi-use recreation summer and winter in all of our public and the private land from Lakes Region Conservation Trust, the public land that's Abenaki, and our conservation land over on Fernald. So discussing it with them, they asked me, hey, can we be notified when you, and I said, I'll ask my board.
So I'm gonna defer to Jim on this one. See what what should we do, Jim?
I think the bigger question that I would have is if we're inviting these people to the meeting, which I have no problem with, are you going to give them an opportunity to speak at that appointment? I think that is, for me, that's the bigger question.
Yeah, I would say only if they ask to be on an agenda.
And I would follow that up with, do you want to be inviting the Town of Wolfeboro Conservation Commission as well?
I think Lenore should be up to date on what is happening with our lands. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The motion is basically that we have to notify these two organizations if we're going to have anything to do with the NIMBA group here. Is that basically it?
Well, they do have, the one woman that I talked to is the CEO of NEMBA. She is basically, all the chapters in New England, in the States, are underneath her purview and her control.
I guess the question is, by your motion, we are going to be, that we're going to have to notify them, probably in writing, that we're going to do this on an agenda item.
Yeah, I think a cursory.
Or we could just, as a courtesy, send somebody a notice that we're going to be talking to
Yeah, all it is a simple email, that says, we're having a meeting with.
I personally don't
Wolfeboro."
like it as a formal motion. I think that you also said if you want consensus from the board, I would say that over the years, we've kind of tried to do that.
Okay.
So I don't, my recommendation is going to be to defeat your motion, and I'm going to vote against
So I
it.
will withdraw my motion.
I'll withdraw my second.
Do I have a consensus from the
Sure.
board that it's okay to notify those individuals?
Go ahead.
That Amy will notify.
Yes.
That it'll be from the town.
Correct.
Yep.
All right.
Okay,
I think that's right. And then Amy gets to do that, another chestnut on the fire, but then it's from the town, it's not from an individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my comment.
All right, so now I will ask for this as a consensus, and if we need to have a motion, we'll have a motion. Should we have bike mapping, GPS bike mapping in place for the bike trails that are in Abenaki that are built and the ones that are going to be proposed before we have them start building other trails? Should we really know with GPS coordinates, which is very easy to do, and know where the trails are before we start building any other, or are we just, is it okay the way it is?
You're going to find out the lay of the land when you're on the land. You just can't do it.
But I think you can. I think you can come, and we should be able to know where those boardwalks are by coordinates, not just some map, that it's out of proportion. And we should be able to know where they are, and in the general area that they're going to put the new trails. Because I think the thing that we have, the first contract we had, they didn't notify us, they didn't flag it. The last time we got a contract with them, they asked us for one trail, they built another. So I think we're trying to get it pinpointed more specifically on a map exactly what's going to happen.
And I've talked to 3 or 4 trail builders, and they said that once they flag a trail, they can build it within 2 to 3 feet of where those flags are, because they've flagged it and they know the lay of the land and they know what they're going to build.
Mr. Senecal.
yes.
May I? So I think what Mr. Deshaies is saying is that we would like to have, I'm going to use John's words, we'd like to have an as-built of a set of trails that you've already built. I want to have the as-built. I want to see where they are, latitude, longitude, on a map, whatever. I completely support that. I think what you're also saying is you want to have that done before you grant them the capability to build another trail. That's what I heard you say. Yeah. So there's my words, not yours, but there's a trust issue here that says, I'm not trusting that I'm getting the as-builts, and I want to slow you down from doing more things. And if that's the reality, I'm okay with that. But I would agree with the idea that we should have as-builts on anything that's built in our town. Sure.
We should have as-built.
We should.
But again,
the trails should be marked.
It's hard to make a
clear.
determination when you look at a map and you're not walking the lay of the land, and you have features out there that you have to mitigate along the way.
I think the concern that I hear being raised, though, is a bit about I'm out there and I've hurt myself. I need to know where I'm at. And yes, there has to be trail features, and you're about to enter, a certain area. But I think we had Mr. Coons at that microphone 6 months ago, maybe 5, and I asked Mr. Coons, who is responsible for getting us trail maps? And I think that Brian is still hunting on this, saying we ain't got none yet. So I'm supportive of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've walked all those trails. I've walked every one that they've built. We've looked at all this stuff. And when we were up on that map, we said, where's that bridge? And every time I go out there and say, well, can you put a coordinates? Sure we can, but I never see it. And that's what I'm saying. They can do it. We need to get it done, and it is the as-built. And last time they built the wrong trail. if they've got it flagged, then let's lay that out on the map so we know that,
Yeah, we don't want them to just guess, we're going to put a trail over here, and then if it has to go somewhere different, that's okay. What they're doing is they're flagging where the trail is going to be. They are marking where the trail is going to be. They are using a trail builder who professionally will build that trail. So there's no reason why, if they have walked the lay of the land and they know all the features and they've put the flags where they're going to go, that they can't put a GPS to that and say to us, that's where the trail is going to be built. If there is an issue and the trail builder has to move it a quarter of a mile, we should know that too. And if he can't build it, we should know that too.
So I just heard a second thing. I heard one argument that says what has been built should have an as-built. Okay, I agree with that. Now, I just heard a second thing that says what is about to be built should have what we would call in planning board a site plan. It says here's the site plan of what we're going to do. Now, so there's two things you're looking for: as-builts, site plan. I don't have a problem with either one of those.
They have them on their map now, but they don't have coordinates. They have dotted lines for ones that are going to be built. They have lines for all different kinds of trails, ones that are aggressive and ones that are flow down and uphill and everything.
We could debate this one till I go to sleep, but it's highly likely that if someone is building a trail and flags it, it's highly likely the law of large numbers would tell you that they may not be able to go in the lay of the land. They may run up against lead, something, all right? So if what you're saying is you'd like a site plan, a rough idea, I'm okay with that. Latitude and longitude before they put the shovel in the ground, probably not. I'd wait for the as-built after it's done. That would be my advice. Wait until they do it. Now, if they're going to go substantially in a deviated way, and the trail's supposed to go that way, and they're going that way, that's a reboot. So the first part I agree with. The second part I'd say,
So I'm going by a gentleman who built all the trails, or a huge majority of them, for the Walton family down in Bentonville, Arkansas.
Nice place.
And he has said that once he goes out and flags where the trail is going to be, he's within 2 to 3 feet or 3 to 4 feet of where that location is. He said, because I'm a trail builder, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to put the flags where I'm going to build it. So I don't think it's as much of a, it's not like a 12-year-old kid going out into the woods with a hatchet and a shovel. And
All right, we have a motion.
so I would make a motion that we should have a bike mapping system that will have GPS coordinates for as-built and for future-built trails before we have the construction start this summer.
Paid for by?
Paid for by the Single Track Alliance. It's not our responsibility.
Okay, just clarifying.
Well, it's not Single Track anymore. It is the Wolfeboro, NEMBA, and their donors and their chapter. And talking to the CEO of their chapter, she said this is an easy lift. They do it all the time. Okay. NEMBA has 10,000 members in 6 states, so they have the capability of doing this.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Can I just ask for clarification?
What do we vote on?
you just voted, you had no idea what
Are you asking them to do this in some sort of a specific software? Yeah. Because I don't know how you GPS every point that you want GPSed on a paper map.
All we need to do is contact the CEO of NEMBA, and she will give us, her name's Nicole, she'll give you exactly how they've been doing it for the last 40 years. It's not that
You're not answering my question.
Good, because I don't know the exact answer how they do it.
So why don't you just say you don't know?
So, but we go to the expert, and we'll have the expert tell us how to do it. And I can take that up if anybody wants me to call and talk to her.
I told you when you brought this to me the other day, I would reach out to NEMBA and Mr. Dow. I've already done that. I'm waiting to get a meeting coordinated to continue moving it to the next step.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, next is town manager's report.
A couple of items. As you're well aware, I think the weight restrictions were lifted Monday on the roadways. Water Department has initiated hydrant flushing. Next meeting, May the 7th, a few things that will be coming in front of you. Historic Society lease that we sent back to legal after the acceptance of the donated items. Couple minor tweaks made to the agreement. No need for an additional public hearing, and we hope to get that to you electronically sometime next week. On the 7th as well, Brian Paul will be here to provide you with a year-end or season-end report for Pop Whalen. Also in front of you on the 7th, we intend on bringing you updated data points regarding the Josiah Brown Scholarship, which we have to get out that following week. Public Safety Building, anticipated substantial completion May 15th, with turnover to the town estimated the week of May 26th. Last meeting, there was a question about the ambulance. I did some further research, reached out to New Hampshire Municipal Association. It was clear that this was a single-year appropriation, and that's based on the following facts. Number one, the term of the contract, which we have had with Stewart's Ambulance, was from January 1, 2024 through December 31, 2024, with an extension clause within the contract. Additionally, multi-year contracts to become part of a default budget within warrant article language need to identify future costs. So, for example, collective bargaining agreements, when they come in front of the voters in 25, 21, and 23, each one of those years showed what those incremental costs were going to be. The fire truck lease in 2023 showed the incremental costs of the payments annually. Bonded items are also through the public hearing process for bonds, and the first 3 years of payments are estimated within those warrant articles. The school resource officer, the language within the school resource officer warrant article outlined that it would be funded in future years' budgets. None of those criteria fell within the warrant article, therefore it was a single-year appropriation, and we could not add that in. As the board knows, I will be leaving for vacation. I'll be away from the office from the 19th, and I will be back in the office on May the 5th. And lastly, our assistant town manager, Casey, has announced her retirement. Her last day will be August 29th. That's all I have.
Can I ask you one question, Jim? Who's going to oversee the final inspection of the police and fire building?
Would you like to? Because apparently it sounds like we're not doing it well.
I'm asking you if we have a plan.
Yes, we do. But
Okay.
if you would like to participate, I would be more than happy to have you join us, John.
Sure, thanks.
Okay. Committee reports. Brian?
We had a great event at Trenta for the EDC, and there was between 70 and 80 people that participated. They were business owners and their plus ones. They were from all different businesses in town, from contractors to masons to restaurants to hotels to retail, and we are compiling, the EDC is compiling all the information so that we can get them some data points and let them know what we heard from them, and we will try and address that, the EDC will try and address that as feedback, and the EDC will be bringing that information to the Board of Selectmen so that we also know what the businesses in town feel their challenges and their benefits are in Wolfeboro. There was a Heritage Commission meeting that I had at the same time that we had this meeting, so when that happens, I followed up with the chair and had a long conversation on what happened during the meeting. He said that they planned the Heritage Awards. We all got invitations to the Heritage Awards. I assume you got emails. It's a fantastic event. It's over at the Playhouse, and I would encourage you to come and attend. And also, they gave me a little bit of insight into the meetings they had with contractors at the Libby Museum for the construction of the museum. I'm going to wait for them to come to the board and present their findings instead of presenting in advance. I think they have a better grasp of it than I do.
Paul?
While you were having your event, which I sadly missed, I went to the planning and the zoning boards. The zoning board was the night of your event, and my purpose in going to those was just to observe. I've been away from that action for a while. I was asking myself a question for both those activities. How much of this is staff preparation work, planner insights, and I just kind of watched, listened. It was good. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. Police commission meeting the other evening. I spent some time. I really wanted to meet our treasurer. I'd never really spent time with the treasurer. I had a chance to do that. And I've had several conversations with the Friends of the Libby. We had a video call the other evening, and I had a cup of tea with Tom this morning. And I believe that they're trying to find a way for the Heritage team and their team to kind of come together and have a chat. And I think that's in flight. I don't have any details other than that. Thank you.
Linda?
Yeah, I went to that EDC 2024 recap, and I led one of the discussion groups. I found it very interesting. I had the lodges in town, and it was interesting. They all said that their reservations were down about 10%, and one of the things they're noticing was that people are not willing to make reservations. They come in at the last minute, so they can feel the uncertainty. The Historical Society meeting, I went there, and they are celebrating their 100th anniversary, so they were talking about their events. I met with Russ Pond and DES regarding the dredging feasibility study, and talked to Libby, and Steve Randall is a key part of those meetings. I attended the Chamber Executive Board meeting, and I want to remind everybody that this week is the Chamber Restaurant Week event with participating restaurants. They'll have special menus. I attended the Friends of Pop Whalen. I attended the Library Trustees meeting. They discussed the installation of the solar panels and the federal funds cut for library services. The use of the library continues to grow over last year. I attended the community TV meeting as a visitor. I was interested to see that they're going to divide up into some subcommittees to deal with some of their issues. Wolfeboro Waters, we reviewed a spreadsheet on cyanotoxins that will be presented to the board after the assessment committee includes an explanation of the terms and the measurements. At the next Board of Selectmen's meeting, Wolfeboro Waters will provide the board with a cyanobacteria protocol plan, which has been updated and will be asking for the board's approval. As I spoke earlier, Nancy Spaulding from New Hampshire DOT District 3 has been in contact and is working on the upgrade to Route 28 from Pleasant Valley to Abenaki Estates. This is the first area identified in the Wolfeboro Bay Management Plan that needs to be addressed. And as we work on that, we're going to then start looking at what the second site was. The committee discussed the turf field removed from the high school. The committee reviewed, and I will add this to the minutes, the Shaw's Sports Turf PFAS statement, and it reads, based on the information provided to date by the suppliers, Shaw's Sports Turf does not use PFAS chemicals currently listed on the California proposed 65 regulations. So and I'll put that in this, attach this to the minutes in case people want to read it. Based on that statement, the new turf at the Kingswood Complex will not have PFAS. And that's it. One of the things I'm realizing, in the first 2 weeks of the month, I have just about every meeting I can, and then at the end of the month, there's nothing. So,
Well, we can work on it.
yeah, thank you, Paul.
John?
So I had a meeting with Jim to discuss the completion of the Forest Road sewer extension line, and I'll be working with Steve Randall to work with him to see that we can get that accomplished and we can get an overview and a finalization so we can complete that project and move on from that area so we don't have to focus on that one anymore. I also had a meeting with Jeremy Roberge from the Huggins Hospital to discuss what the town's role is on enhancing more tourism and how the town could improve the amount of people that come into our town on the bookends of the fall and the spring so that it equates to more events, more pickleball, more events at Pop Whalen, all these different things that bring people to our town where the merchants make money, the hospital pays their bills, and everybody gets a little piece of the pie.
All right, you forgot the Libby.
I was going to leave that up to you.
John and I met at the Libby with one of the contractors to go over what's happening up there. I thought it was pretty intensive. And what we did learn about it was we need to open up the back wall. And the contractors that were there said, no problem. Open up all you want in the back, it's not going to fall down. So I think we'll follow up on that a little bit with some of our own people. And the reason for that is there's a big bulge in the back wall, and it's in the outside section, and it's above the concrete wall, which is about, 5.5, 6 feet tall in the back, maybe a little higher.
Well, yeah.
And then the wall sits on it. So anyway, that was a pretty informative meeting. I did go to the EDC meeting down at Trenta. I thought it was very well attended. The foods were pretty good too. And we had a couple of free drinks.
Yeah, and boy, that does.
Thanks to the trolley and EDC. So anyway, that's all I got. Any questions from the press?
I do not see Alyssa on.
Okay.
I would like to ask John for some help. John, I think if you would like to pick a couple of towns, Center Harbor and Meredith or Alton or Laconia or whatnot, and contact them, I will contact some, you can contact some. Let's see what the Mount Washington pays for landing fees at their docks. Let's see what they charge for jet ski rentals at their docks. Let's see what they charge if they have other boats like this, like Wake Winnie, coming to their docks, because I'd like to see where we are compared to other towns. Would you be
Talk to
willing to help
John
me?
afterwards, please. All right, any public input? Anybody from the public want to talk to us? Okay.
I see nobody online.
Okay, I'd like a motion to go into non-public.
So, second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.